Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager, and this is it. It's the century mark. We have hit episode number 100. Thank you for sticking with me for 100 episodes. If you haven't done so, we're 100 episodes in. Maybe you skipped some. Maybe you skipped a lot of minutes here and there and just picked major content up and got through it relatively quick. Regardless, you've made it through 100 episodes. If you haven't done so yet, please take a moment, click that subscribe button. It makes a massive difference. Here, just a very quick example for you of how difficult it is to really break through with YouTube. I've been doing this for over 4 years now. 5, almost. I have not collected a single dollar. Not one. Now, there is money sitting in a bank account somewhere, and YouTube maybe has collected some interest off of it, and I do have some money out there to collect, but it's not a substantial sum. Hence the reason why I haven't spent the countless hours to set myself up to be paying taxes on something that I'm barely getting and having to do a lot of paperwork. Therefore, I will get there. I'm planning on doing that very soon, but I still haven't yet, and largely because of the lack of money that comes in. So please just take a second, click that subscribe button, because there's still a good chunk of you that aren't subscribed at this point. It's episode 100. Help me out. Anyway, let's get to racing because, well, I gotta work fast again, like third episode in a row. But unlike the previous two, it's not a foregone conclusion that it's gonna be a single race episode. I might be able to squeeze in two if I work fast. I could take my time with one, or maybe squeeze in two. And with how things are going in the championship and how things have gone in those last couple episodes of playing very fast, we're still doing quite well. Pourchaire has already picked up one. He was 2 points behind Doohan, but you can see both of them have picked up a point again. So he's going to remain a single point behind Doohan on in terms of how they've caught up. He's at an 89 now there. That's really coming along. You can see that Doohan is further behind. He's just more well-rounded in other areas. Technical Chief has his contract expiring soon, so looking to renew. His current salary is $3.25 million. For now, that's a no change kind of area, but we want to give him more money than what he's receiving before, so let's go ahead and bump this up a bit. We'll add 50K. Well, that's only even 40K. But we'll also give him a boost here and see what that does. 5 seasons sounds great. Morale's already only okay. Okay, the salary is not good, but everything else he's happy with. We do have a chance for more. We can really afford to give him a pretty decent increase in salary. I mean, this is $500,000 up from what he was making, and that's over the course of an entire season. He's neutral on that, but still declines the contract, surprisingly. And he accepts that one. So 3.9. It's a bit of a hike in his salary, $650K more than what he was making, but overall, in the grand scheme of things, in terms of our budget, that's awfully small. As the front wing is the one that's taken the biggest hit for next year's regulations, that's the one that we're going to put a little bit extra into this time in terms of man hours, tunnel hours, and see a significant hike in where it was to bring it back along to cover off that 70% loss. And just to really gauge where we're actually at, one research project on the front wing so far has given us 0.12 kilonewtons research benefit. But then we're also looking at that car part expertise reduction. It's 1.06. That's how much we're trying to cover off. Now, this will put us at 0.24 without putting anything extra. We're going to put extra into this for sure. It's going to bring us a little bit further along on that process of getting back to where we want to be. And even then, after 2 upgrades, we're looking at only having recovered a quarter of what will have been lost. There's a lot of work to do, and the season's going awfully quick. I know that I don't think any teams are going to get back to where they were right away. But I'm hoping we make a pretty massive dent into that compared to other teams. We might come out actually with a really strong car next year. Our chassis design, that's for this year's car, is complete. And that's going to be the last chassis upgrade of the year. So obviously we're going to need to go in and manufacture some parts now for that chassis. See how small the gain is. Red Bull Ring, Austria is next. Porsche got the victory last year at this one, actually comfortably. He was 8 seconds ahead of Perez in the Ferrari, doing one of his best career finishes up to that point, which was 7th. He'd had a couple results better, but not much at this point in the season. We'll see if we can do better than a 1-7 this time. I'm hoping for another win.
The battle is surely going to rage this weekend. Welcome to the Green Hills of Austria. The Red Bull Ring hosted its first Grand Prix in 2014, and it's been spectacular ever since.
And we ride on board with Porsche as he begins his flying lap here in Q3. It's the second and final flying lap, and we are already in the ideal position of first and second, and that was on the used set, so things looking really good. But can we hang on to that as the Red Bulls are certainly breathing down our neck? Fresh compound should be helping us out, but somehow both drivers managed to go yellow in the first sector. Does that mean that this is actually one of those tracks where a slightly used set is actually quicker? Certainly possible. Or are we going to be quicker as the lap goes on? Purple in sector 2 for Porsche, but doing again slower. Verstappen has gone pole, so the slower compound, the more used tire, has been quicker for him. Porsche seems the only one who's still got a chance of taking pole. And he does. Just 11 1/1000ths. Doing does not improve. And that's going to split front row, second row with Porsche in first, Doing in third. We're looking at a rainy race. Early on, for a handful of laps, it looks like we might be full wet conditions, but then drop off to intermediate for the remainder of the race, all the way till the finish line. We're going to try to go intermediates for the distance with no pit stops in between those 5 laps. If we lose a couple seconds a lap, we're only losing 10 seconds. We don't need to go wets and then back to intermediates. And I'm actually kind of hoping some of the teams do try to go full wets. But meanwhile, we're going to start on the mediums. How many cars do so? How many opt for that strategy? I don't know. We'll see, but I would imagine most of the field will be on the mediums for this one. It'd be really nice if somebody goes on softs and has to pit 10 laps early. That would really help us out.
As the sun continues to shine, it seems like nothing can dampen the mood of excitement here at the track. Here's Williams. They're in P1. Let's see if they can take advantage of that position. And looking at the second Williams car. Starting in third place, they're in a really good position for this race. And we're just moments away now. It's the race we've all been waiting for. It's the Austrian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
I think I see at least one Red Bull on the softs, but they actually were slow off the line, and we're going to be 1-2 as we enter the first corner here. Doing back off first. But trying to overtake your teammate.
Okay, we want to increase lift and coast.
We're going to be battling side by side as we go forward, though everybody behind us is battling side by side as well. But that made it harder to get through that corner instead of going single file. We are out front. We've already had a perfect, ideal start for Verstappen and Russell, third and fourth. Magnussen in the Alfa Romeo is the next. Ferrari seems to be struggling for pace. McLaren is struggling for pace. Got a good advantage early on in this race. Now, we've got 28 laps until the rain hits, so it's going to be a nice, quiet, easy time. Let's see what happens on compound-wise. Ooh, its mediums are hard. So no wonder we got ahead of Russell. I don't know about the Verstappen part, but not too many cars opting for the mediums, but we should be fine to get those to the point of the rain, which means we're going to have a bit of an advantage, and we should see a lot of cars falling back and getting out of DRS range soon enough. But let's speed things up and see if we can make that happen over the next few laps. DRS now enabled.
DRS.
So far, no gap opening up, but Leclerc is right at the edge of 1 second behind. And then gets DRS and closes right down to half a second. But Ricciardo gets bounced out of DRS. And now Leclerc is going to get out of DRS, it looks like, anyway. So top 5 pulling away. We've had a crash on track. And it's right behind us. Right behind us. Big crash right behind us. And safety car is starting. No reason to pit. No reason to
DRS is
pit.
currently
We stay out there.
disabled. DRS is currently disabled.
Magnussen is going to be out of this race. It looks like he's
We've had a crash.
gone wide and
Here's the
hit the
replay.
wall, I would assume.
All eyes on Kevin
Spun
Magnussen
out.
here.
But did he take out the Red Bull with him? He did not. He just runs wide and smashes into the wall, loses the left front, and he is out of the race. And we are racing once again here as we begin lap number 8. Get a little bit of a jump on Russell there at the start and actually are more than a second ahead. Can we drive away? Field spreading out real quick without DRS. .4, seemingly pulling away.
DRS is enabled.
Now DRS is enabled, but Leclerc's too far back of the Red Bulls. Perez is too far back of Guan Yu Zhou, the other Alfa Romeo still in this race. And we're now 1.5 away. 1.7. We are pulling away, seemingly, from the field. This could be an ideal scenario before we hit the rainy weather. Fastest lap. 2.2. We are pulling away. And they're pulling away. This is good. This is very good, folks. Another crash.
Looks like
Ocon with a McLaren.
They
He's just going to spin out.
What a disaster.
Did he beach it on the curb? Car's coming to a stop, to a halt behind him. We might just be looking at local yellow on this one. Yeah, they're all getting going. Another crash.
Right, watch this. There's Schumacher.
He just runs wide and then comes back on and hits Stroll.
Contact there, and that caused a lot of damage.
Backmarker's not having a good race and definitely opening up some gaps towards the back end, spreading the field out nicely for us. I don't care that these two are switching places as long as we're pulling away from those behind, which we are 3 seconds ahead now of the Red Bull. Norris challenging Leclerc, but they are also out of DRS range. Perez as well. .8, not getting away. Verstappen is the one down to 7th. Must have had the lockup. So Russell sits down P3 alone. Leclerc is a couple seconds behind him. And then Norris on a further 4.5 back with Guan Yu Zhou in between there. And Verstappen gets around Norris, the two Alpines. Perez on his heels, Bottas on his heels, Sainz, and Albon. But doing, using up a little bit of fuel. It's allowing him to pull away from Pourchaire, but can Pourchaire use DRS to close that up? Safety car is coming out again. 2 minutes till we pit. Pause. We are going to pit. We are going to pit right now. Will anybody else pit, or are we going to have a massive advantage coming out of this?
Let's have another look. Sainz is the focus here.
Sainz in the Ferrari. He's going to run wide, it looks like. Haven't seen anything. I saw a collision there.
They'll have felt that.
Must have run wide and then try to rejoin. We're 6 seconds ahead of Russell right now, by the way. So the double stack will be easy enough, but will anybody else bother to pit? Ocon has. Ricciardo's out of the race. Ricciardo was carrying the penalty. He was the cause, but Sainz, I thought, was the one he hit. There, the rain is beginning to fall. But again, does anybody else bother to pit yet? Pourchaire is P2. He's the one in the double stack scenario. Doohan's going to easily pit and should come out in first. Even if he doesn't, it doesn't matter. Others will pit in a lap or two. Zhou into the pits, but Russell is not. Some cars are staying out, and we're at 1.0 right now.
Seems to be quite slippery.
Big question, though, is anybody else going to be Pourchaire? Come on, Pourchaire. Let's go, let's go. All right, he's still P2 in terms of those that have pit. So both of us are going to be behind some other cars. 3 cars on the hards, but that doesn't matter. It's are they coming out on the wets or are they going to come out on the intermediates? Cars are coming back out on mediums and hards. Joe Verstappen on the hards. Albon, Sainz on the mediums. Ocon has opted for the wets. Stroll still in the pits. And here we go, 4 millimeters. Full wet conditions. Full wet conditions have struck. But how long does it last? It's not supposed to last for long. And that's why we stay out. And there, those guys dive off into the pits. And that's going to move us up to P1, P2. Show still out here. He did not dive into the pits. Perez is now P4 or virtual P3. Norris, Tsunoda, Gasly. But unless Joe doesn't pit at all in the next little bit, he's going to hold up some traffic. Interesting strategies. Only 4 cars on the full wets. And now only 1 car left on a dry compound. And the safety car is coming in this lap. And the field's not bunched up yet. Yeah, if I were doing, I wouldn't have waited for everyone to bunch up to go. Safety car gets out of the way. You got a bunch of cars behind you. I go. Guan Yu Zhou dives off into the pits, and it's going to come out in last place. From third to last. Terrible strategy call from the team there. 4 cars on the wets. Gasly already moving forward. He's up to P4. Russell and Verstappen are on full wets. Russell and Verstappen have opted for the full wets. They are going to be faster, but it's already starting to dry out. 4.3 millimeters. It's not going to last that long. How quickly can they get through? How far can they pull ahead? They're going to have to pit before long. We currently sit P1, P2. Gasly now all over the back of us, but Perez gets around him. 4.1. We're already going to fall into the intermediate zone. Now it's damp. Track is just damp. That's it. We've already managed to get to that point. Gasly only made it up to P4 and he dives off into the pits already. And so does Verstappen, and they are going to come out right at the back of the grid. Still in the pits. Still in the pits. Everybody has gone by except for Guan Yu Zhou. And he goes by as well, so they literally go right to the back of the field. That's why I opted for the intermediates and not the wets. I knew it wasn't going to last long. And with the safety car, it actually made it even less time. Perez sits third. Norris is fourth. Russell is 2 seconds behind and falling back because he, too, still needs to pit along with Ocon. And they both dive off into the pits this time as they were down to 3.5 millimeters. Giving us now a scenario of Perez and Norris, the only cars challenging. Everybody else, Tsunoda, well behind. So Verstappen is 16th, Russell 17th. The Mercedes sandwiched the bread around their sandwich. And Guan Yu Zhou, that one who pit right as we restarted, is 14th. He got partial benefit, of pitting while we were still under the safety car, but we obviously restarted racing. So the top 7 are way far away from 8th through 13th. Bottas, though, quite a ways behind. Yellow flag, sector 1. Cleared up real quick. Somebody just ran wide or locked up briefly, but no major thing. It's Giovinazzi with the lockup. So now 8th through 12th are back behind us, but 5 and 6 are definitely dropping back, and we are pulling away from Perez and Norris. And we should be able to go the entire distance here. Let's speed things up, because if we're going to do 2 races, I don't have time for 2 races. It's not going to happen. I just smeared my glasses. I'm not used to them yet and doing things like that, but oh, come on. Porsche goes right into the back of doing. Porsche gets run. Both cars are running again. Major front wing damage. And a 5-second penalty. So Porsche, all of that. Doing. Destroyed the tires. He's down to 53%. He's not going to make it the race distance. So now Both guys are going to have to pit. Minor rear wing damage. He looks okay otherwise. It's just the tires. Minor suspension damage. He'll be able to continue, but again, he will have to have a pit stop now. So both drivers are going to be impacted by Pourchaire's lockup. Gaps will open. Doohan will be able to continue on for a little while. He should be able to keep up with those front two. There's the 5-second penalty served.
Seems to have been a lockup.
Front wing change happening. 8 seconds. Stationary plus 5, so 13 seconds we were stationary. And Pourchaire comes out well behind in last place. 4 seconds behind. He's starting to lose some distance ahead. But if we go light for a couple laps, yeah, he's holding at a second. He's holding at 1 second. We're going to conserve and maybe try to stay out there. Sonoda spins, rejoins in 17th, but Pourchaire is still 18th. A pit stop does not sound like a good option unless the field really, really stretches. At this point, I just don't feel like that's going to be happening. We've got about a 15-second advantage over Latifi, so rejoining in 5th wouldn't be so bad. You could probably make that one happen, pull that off. But we are keeping pace with those guys. Norris with a mistake. Doohan moves up to P2.
I think we've had a car run wide.
Norris runs wide. He recovers to P3. Pourchaire's catching up to the back end of the field, which has bunched up, by the way. Those guys are holding up those other would-be contenders. 46, 2 millimeters. The rain continues. Doing it 46% and challenging Perez. Bottas at no man's land in 5th. Verstappen spins, goes right back to the back of the grid again, but actually still rejoins ahead of Pourchaire, who hadn't quite caught up yet. Stroll makes a mistake, backs up a bit, and Pourchaire is now stuck at the back of that. Track is dry. Track is dry.
Okay.
19 laps to go. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Let's see. Let's hope people pit, because this would actually be a time for Doohan to pit. 19 seconds ahead, but he's going to come out likely behind a lot of that. But we're on the wrong tires. We're going to be off the pace here. We are going to be off the pace. Let's hope that rain picks up real soon. Just see a couple cars dive off into the pits. None of them do. None of them do, and we're back into damp conditions. Okay. Norris is caught back up. Leclerc is catching up, but Bottas 11 seconds behind. Doohan has plenty of fuel to push, and we are slowly conserving the tires. Pourchaire is a good example. You can keep it. Well, no, he pit. He pit. He saved. Everybody else should be at about 60 something. No, 70 something. Oh, big spin out. Oh, and he hits.
Let's take a closer look.
Come on. Doohan has been hit twice. He has not made a mistake, but he's been hit twice now. Minor front wing damage. We will take those tires. We're going to take that VSC to pit. That should bring us out behind Bottas. But fifth place is good. Pourchaire, though, nothing he can do. He's behind a lot of traffic. Let's hope some of those guys do opt to pit. It makes sense that Perez is opting to pit. He's going to have a penalty. Yes, he does. So we're going to be out much faster. So that's P4. P4 we are in. Virtual safety car ending soon. And we're just ahead of that group, though. Just ahead of that group. Standard. I think we can go aggressive to the end, though. We're going to save the fuel for when we catch up to those guys up ahead of us to overtake, hopefully.
VSC ending. VSC ending. VSC ending.
Okay, meanwhile, we
push through.
overtaking a Red Bull is going to be a challenge. But you know what? Well, let's go for it.
Reduce the lift and co.
Okay, so doing. Restarts just ahead of this group,
Overtake
but
is
he's got
available
clean
if
air.
needed.
13.5 seconds behind. Norris now leads. Leclerc, Bottas are up there. Red Bull's the only challenger, so today might not be a win for us, but we're in good shape otherwise. And the championship leader, Williams, in 18th. And Mercedes. Oh my goodness, what has happened to them the last couple of seasons? They are struggling. Doing already 3 seconds ahead of Latifi from about 1.5 seconds, so we are very much pulling away from the group. But can we catch those front guys? Norris, Leclerc, Bottas. Porsche has gotten around Verstappen, the hardest one. Can we continue that run with Ocon? Let's go ahead and check in on Porsche, on his progress. He's given us more excitement than Doohan. Of course, Doohan is carrying damage times 3. Minor damage times 3. He's still managing to gain on those guys ahead of him. Battery empty already for Porsche. Leclerc runs wide, loses 4 seconds. Leclerc runs wide, loses 4 seconds. Doing now 12.5 back. He is gaining, but not rapidly. Porsche ready to challenge Tsunoda. Can we do it without battery? Can we just push and overtake? Back now. We can go aggressive and overtake as we come down the straight. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Come on, come on. Still can't get through. Really? Okay, turn 3. Up the hill. Porsche at 77%. Meanwhile, Doohan in 4th has left a big old gap behind him. And 7 seconds ahead of Albon now and Sainz, and then big old gap to Latifi. Now just not even 5 seconds behind Bottas. We are very much catching up bit by bit. Right now, only using tires, plenty of fuel for overtakes, plenty of battery for overtakes. What just happened? Didn't say anything about lockup. 2 cars just ghosted and went through Porsche. And he's down to 17th. Alright. His race is done. Let's focus on Doohan. No idea what happened with Porsche because it didn't say we locked up. There was no sign of a spin. We just pretty much stopped right in the middle of the track and 2 cars ghosted right through us, and then we resumed. 2 spots further behind than where we were. Looks like we had a failed overtake and the game glitched. Not that it makes a big difference. We would have been 15th otherwise. Still not in the points. Still not contending. It is what it is on that part. Lap 67. Can we get Bottas and get that podium? Just 9.5 seconds back. Turning the engine up, making a big difference. And Doohan is through just like that up to P3. Save that battery. 3.44. Almost too wet here. We're okay. We are now 3 seconds actually, 3.5 behind Leclerc. Can we catch Leclerc?
And there's an overtake from
Porsche up to P16. Re-overtaking Tsunoda, who never overtook us. Just drove through us.
Wide.
But again, realistically, let's say that was Ocon. We pass. We're still only P14. I don't think he's going to make enough overtakes for it to matter. Still sucks that it happened. Definitely not enough time for a second race. This is going to be it, folks. We've got a podium. Can we do one better?
Pass with an overtake.
Tsunoda gets back around Porsche.
It's a spin.
Giovinazzi spins again. He's not going backwards. No, he is. He's last place. There we go. Less than 2 seconds behind Leclerc with a couple laps to go. Oh, full wet conditions. That's going to make us go backwards. right at the end. This wasn't supposed to happen. The track was supposed to be drying out in the final laps. Then again, a VSC safety car extends the race a little bit, puts you outside of the window that was expected. And now 1.4 seconds behind. I have a feeling that everybody's going to be having adaptability issues, but we're worse. We are slower. Norris set to win. He begins the final lap. Leclerc now Doohan, then Bottas. At least we have that healthy gap over Bottas, but Doohan not making any progress despite pressing, and that's the wrong tires situation. We have caught up to Leclerc here as we're on full deploy, but we're not going to get the overtake done. Norris takes the win. Doohan challenging Leclerc, but not able to overtake. That variable condition stopped us at the end. We get third. We do get a podium here today. Porsche, meanwhile, down at 16th, all over the back of Sonoda. But again, things not working out, especially with that glitch. At best, he's P14, so no big deal. Porsche still leads the championship standings. Picked up a point for pole position, as we have a point for pole this year. So that's the only point he manages. Doohan gets 15 points today, does not get the fastest lap. Leclerc ended up picking that up right before the safety car situation. We'd been the fastest, but we were just cruising around. And then, things happened. The weather changed. We pit, and that was that. So we end up not getting the fastest lap. Should have thought about that before we got to that raid, and maybe tried to push those last couple of laps to see what we could do about improving time. But anyway, 15-point gap between the pair, well ahead of the Red Bulls, and we do pull away quite a bit from them today. Now 91 points ahead. We gain 12 on them. We only lose 4 points to McLaren, who are third. Ferrari gain 1 fewer point just behind them, and Alpine have a heck of a day as they consolidate their 5th position here in the championship. No new points for those two today, but you can see even with a major mistake that Porsche still only loses a few hundred XP to Doohan, who was on the podium, and that's that growth potential multiplier. That's a pretty big deal. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.